Hello everybody and welcome. Just give people a few minutes to join. I can see more people joining as we speak. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Wellbeing Hub first webinar for 2026. Hear my clock going off. According to my clock, it's a wren. Just say welcome to everybody who's joining. We'll just wait another couple of minutes. We generally start at about 4 or 5 minutes past the hour just to give people time to join. Perhaps while we're waiting, maybe people would like to use the Q&A to say hello, maybe introduce yourself, say where you're from, if you feel like that. You might want to do that. The Q&A, if you haven't used this before, it should be on the top of your screen. If you can type a comment and then you can reply to comments as well. And that will be the way that we take questions, which I'll explain as we go through. But do feel free to say hello while we're waiting to get started. So I think we'll make a start. I'm going to do an introduction first before Mike speaks, so that may let a few more people join. I'm Dr. Fiona Knott. I'm the Clinical Director of the Centre for Autism Wellbeing Hub. I know if you've been before, you'll be used to my colleague Dr. Jo Billington running these events. She's away at the moment at a conference, which is why I've stepped in to deliver to support Mike in our talk. So let me just share my screen, give you a bit of information about today. So for people who don't know, the Centre for Autism Wellbeing Hub was launched about 2.5 years ago, funded by very generous donation from university alumni. And what we're doing is working together with local autistic young people and their allies to understand how we can best build an inclusive community of autistic people and allies and work together to support autistic young people to thrive and to flourish. So we've been running a series of studies with young people to find out what they would find helpful to flourish, and we're now starting to roll out some activities which young people are telling us they will find helpful. If you want to find more about the Wellbeing Hub, you can sign up for our newsletter. I'll put all of these links in the chat shortly, but we have a monthly newsletter which talks about the kind of activities that we're running and things that you might be interested in, and also our colleagues in the Centre for Autism who are researchers sometimes use the newsletter to advertise their research projects. We have a website where, again, you can find out more about what we're doing, and our YouTube channel, where talks will be uploaded when speakers have given permission for talks to be recorded. Tonight's talk is being recorded and it will be available on the channel afterwards. As I said, we were funded by a really generous donation from the university alumni, but we don't have any other grant funding or income at the moment, so we're always incredibly grateful for anybody who feels able to make a donation to support our work. So just to give a bit of housekeeping, Mike's going to talk for about 45 minutes, and then there'll be time for questions at the end. We ask you to use the Q&A function. What will happen is I'll look through the questions and then I'll ask them to Mike at the end. So we're not going to ask people to come on Mike and ask their own questions. I'll put as many questions as I possibly can to Mike, but apologies in advance if I don't manage to answer your particular question. You can also please use the Q&A to share your thoughts and your comments. We will be recording the talk and we'll send a link to the talk to everybody who's enrolled on this talk in the next week or so. Just a little bit of advertising, the next couple of things that are coming up. Our next webinar, our February webinar, is on the 12th of February, and our speaker is John Adams, who's a neurodivergent researcher, an advocate and a fellow for the Royal Society for the Arts, and his talk is entitled "A Conversation with Sparrows," which are tales of autistic experience, trauma and well-being seen from within a personal creative narrative. That's open to all, and for those of you who live near enough to the university to be able to attend an in-person event, we have a parent-carer meet-up in February, on the 5th of February, here in person at the university, where Dr. Ruth Moyes, who's an autistic researcher, is going to be talking about her research around school attendance and mental health. The charge for that is £10 per person, which includes parking and refreshments. You can find links on the website and also on Eventbrite to all of these events. So moving on to introduce our speaker for today, Mike Karasinski. Delighted to introduce Mike, who is a mental health nurse with more than 20 years experience of working in the NHS. And more recently, Mike worked for the National Autism Trainer Programme, which he says has shaped his professional and personal journey. He was diagnosed with ADHD in 2025, and I think Mike's going to be talking about that and how this has brought clarity to his lifelong experiences. And in January 25, he founded an organisation called Neuroaffirming Dudes and Dads, which is to begin to provide support for neurodivergent men and dads, and I'll put a link to Mike's website in the chat shortly. As you'll hear, Mike's really passionate about creating inclusive, affirming spaces that are rooted in lived experience and connection and authenticity. Just want to give you a content warning. Mike's talk is going to be talking about some of the challenges faced by late diagnosed neurodivergent people, which might be upsetting. I think, Mike, you're going to say, particularly when you might be talking about something that's quite stressful for people, but just be aware that that might happen, and do please look after yourselves if you need to. So I will now stop sharing, and I'm delighted to hand over to Mike for your talk. So if you'd like to share your screen, Mike, I'd be delighted to hear what you have to say.
Thanks, Fiona. Can you see my slides, Fiona?
Yes, that's fine.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. And thank you everyone for registering to come and hear me speak about the group that I've set up. So yeah, as Fiona said, I am a mental health nurse. I live in Newbury in Berkshire, and I've been a mental health nurse, or worked in mental health care now for over 20 years. And over the last few years, there's been a life-changing shift for me through the knowledge that I've gained around neurodivergence, and the shift has made a change on a personal and a professional level for me. So today I'm going to talk about why we need a space for NaDDs, the Neuro Affirming Dudes and Dads group. Um, the name for the group is something that came to me a while ago. I'm going to talk a bit more about that. It came to my quirky, some may say childish mind, but it was a name that I couldn't let it go, and I wouldn't let it go. I'm going to talk about just one way that neurodivergent men and dads of neurodivergent children can come together. I'm going to cover why I set the group up and why these groups matter, and I'll talk about how I set it up, the things that I considered, and then go on to tell you about how the group has grown, and what it means to the people that are part of it. Hopefully, this will show you how we can make a simple yet safe space for connection. You'll hear about how these spaces can then send out positive ripples of understanding and compassion, and how they can help to spark up conversations that help to educate other people. By the end of the session, hopefully, you'll start to have some ideas about what you can do too. Maybe some of you will even leave feeling inspired and ready to open up another important safe space for connection. As Fiona said at the end, we'll have a bit of time for some questions, and I'll do my best to answer anything that comes up. So why did I set it up? I'll just give you, I spent some time giving you some background about what has happened over the last few years for me. And it comes back to that National Autism Trainer Program. In March of 2022, I attended the pilot of this program. It's a program that was developed by Anna Freud and at Autism. They developed it to train mental health staff across the country to become trainers themselves and deliver an autism training package for their colleagues. The objective being to improve care for all autistic people in mental health settings. At the point of going on that training, I had no idea of the impact that it was going to have on me personally, professionally, or some of the things that it would inspire me to go on to do. It fired something up in me doing that training. I think something that was clearly ready to be ignited. My eyes were opened. I was given a different lens to look through, and I was introduced to a wonderful community of supportive, kind, caring, inspiring people. They brought my attention to neurodivergence in a way that I'd never had before. And they did it in a way that I could really start to relate to a lot of it. My self-discovery of being neurodivergent began on that training program. And I was in safe company there to start exploring. After completing that pilot training, I was really honoured to be invited to go and talk of my experience at the annual At Autism conference in London. This was amazing. It was an exciting yet terrifying experience. It fired up imposter syndrome, probably only to the same level as when I was at university doing my nursing training. So I went, and there I am in London at a conference in a room full of highly respected professionals, academics in the world of autism, some of them authors of valuable, influential texts and research. A few of their names are on the screen now. I'm shamelessly name dropping these people because they made such an impact on me. At that conference, I got to sit at a table with Alexis Quinn. Her book on the slide, Unbroken, had a huge impact on me. I'm a fan of Alexis's work. Um, she's an amazing speaker, and nearly every time I hear her talk, I end up with wet eyes. She really enables deep reflection. So there I am at this conference giving a talk, and I'm just thinking, what the hell am I doing here? What am I doing in this environment? This is a different world. Do I really belong here? And as it turns out, it seems I was doing all right. After the conference and some really positive feedback, a chance came to apply to be part of the core trainers delivering the National Autism Trainer Programme. So I went for it and I was offered the job. The team behind it clearly believed in me. They saw something in me, and now I'm starting to believe in myself a little bit more too. I'll never forget what was said about me joining that team. Um, they said the team wanted to work with good people, and I was considered to fit that profile. So I massively thank Dr. Ruth Moyes and Dr. Georgia Pavlopoulou for bringing me into that team. It's meant so much to me. I was extremely proud to be part of it, part of something new and innovative, a training program on autism that was like no other. Every session of that program I delivered it alongside an autistic colleague, mostly with my incredibly brave and inspiring friend, Catherine Astor, whose book is on the slide, but also with loads of amazing, inspiring autistic colleagues too. Too many to mention in this talk. Being part of that team not only gave me the opportunity to continue my development, my learning about autism, but it also gave me the chance to start to fill some of the void in the autism training that mental health colleagues undeniably have. Sadly, the National Autism Trainer Programme delivery came to an end in December 2024. Um, but at that point, I knew I just couldn't walk away. I couldn't just chalk it up as a good experience. The reason being, I'd changed. Having all this information now in my head, in my already busy brain, it put it into a bit of a spin. It was like an earworm, when you get a song stuck in your head. All of this information was stuck in my head, and it was getting bigger, it was getting stronger. It wasn't an earworm, it was an ear snake. It kept getting stronger, and it got so strong that I just couldn't shake it, and I knew that I needed to act. Before we stopped delivering the training in about November 24, there was one night I just couldn't switch off. I was in bed, I was tossing and turning. The idea then for the group came to me, NaDDs, Neuroaffirming Dudes and Dads. And then this was followed by more ideas. My brain took me down a hell of a rabbit hole. And I just had to do something. It was relentless. There was no way that I was going to sleep anytime soon. So it got to about 3 o'clock in the morning, and probably much to the relief of my poor wife, I got up and I went downstairs and I fired up my laptop and I wrote an email to one of my longest and most trusted friends. He already had some ideas that my brain was busy with these thoughts and these ideas. Um, and he is the parent of neurodivergent children. So I knew he got it and he was a safe person to share with. In that email to him, I literally brain dumped. It was it was like just releasing steam from like an old fashioned pressure cooker, the type that my mum used to cook our stew in. It felt really good, and it felt like the pressure was being released. It felt like I'd given birth to an idea. My brain then started to slow down a bit. I was able to go back to bed and eventually get to sleep. That was a very restless night for both me and my wife, and I think she forgives me and sees that it was all worth it now. In the beginning of 2025, then is when things started to happen, on a personal level as well. So with all this new knowledge that I had, I started sharing with my family, and we were having some really good, open, reflective conversations. And then the questions were starting to come from all of us, all questions about neurodivergence, and we were all being more reflective and recognizing how this fits with us as individuals. And then later in the year, those questions started to be answered. The answers came through self-education, and then, as Fiona said in the introduction, more formally through assessment. An ADHD diagnosis was confirmed for me and my son. So I can definitely say that I am officially a neuroaffirming dude and dad. Some may say the dude bit is a bit questionable, but I'm sticking with that. So now the name for the group was in my head. I wasn't letting it go. I then went and set out on a bit of a mission to find out what support or social groups were already out there in my local community. I was really specific in my search that these groups needed to be for anyone that is identifying as male who is neurodivergent or the parent of a neurodivergent child. You may not be surprised, my search drew a blank. Sure, there were groups out there, support groups, that covered some mental health, some neurodivergence, often being parenting groups for children with special educational needs. But I think we could probably all visualize these groups, and this is by no means a criticism. They're all predominantly attended by women, by mums. So that's great. If it was my wife looking to access a social network, as a mother, she could have joined multiple groups, met lots of other mums with similar families. I'm sure if I decided that I wanted to give these groups a go to try them out, I probably would have been made to feel very welcome. But there's the question, isn't there? How comfortable would I actually have felt? And the answer is probably not that comfortable. And I know from having conversations with other men that a room full of women can really send the anxiety levels skyrocketing. So, in my search for groups for people like me, a man, a husband, a dad, there was nothing available. Here was further confirmation that I needed to do something. And when I was looking at these things and thinking about setting this up, I I remember having a thought that if I don't do this, I might just regret it. And and I don't want to look back on this idea and think, what if? Another driver for me is undeniably the fact that I'm a mental health nurse. Um, my career has given me really deep insight into and huge appreciation into the benefits of social connection with like-minded people. And I see this more than ever now. I'm currently working in a mental health crisis team, and we are never without people on our caseload who are neurodivergent, autistic, ADHD, and people that are trying to get an assessment to confirm a diagnosis. And we know that neurodivergent men, whether autistic, ADHD, or otherwise, they can often face unique challenges in social settings. Many experience isolation, stigma, a lack of understanding from others, whether that's their work colleagues, peers, friends, or even their family members. And that can result to feeling lonely, feelings of being a burden, heightened anxiety, lower mood, depression, and in the very worst case, feelings that there is no alternative other than to end their own life. Being able to access a social group that provides a safe space where neurodivergent men can connect with others who share similar life experiences helps. It offers peer support. It can reduce those feelings of isolation, and it can help build confidence in social interactions. Therefore, mental health can and does improve. So at the start of 2025, last year, when I set up NaDDs, this social group specifically for neuroaffirming dudes and dads, I had identified that gap. I wanted to do something about it, and I was feeling motivated. I wanted to really continue to do something good for neurodivergent folk. I wanted to create a space that feels safe, inclusive, and supportive. My nemesis, that is rejection, sensitivity, dysphoria, was having a good old pop at me at that time. Um, but I'm fortunate. I've got good people around me. They were encouraging me to believe in myself and give it a go. So I'm really proud to say that NaDDs is a year old now, and it's a beautiful community to be part of. So how did I set it up? With help, for sure. I knew that I needed help from others who had experience in setting up similar kind of groups or being involved in projects like this, and people with tech know-how. I needed help with all sorts of things, including the planning, structure, and not just it, about setting it up, but also about keeping it going. Some of you may be able to relate to this. Planning and structure can throw up all sorts for someone with ADHD. For me, I love structure. It really helps me. But when it comes to planning, maybe I'm not so great. I might be able to make a good plan, but mind wandering, distractibility often send me off course, and it takes me a good time to come back. This is something that I've learned about myself. I recognize it in myself now, and I'm happy to ask for help and to get some adjustments in place that I need. One of the things about the group that was a priority when setting up was something that I thought about on that restless night, that night when my head was full of the information, the ideas, and I was being kept awake by the ear snake, as I call it. On top of all of the positive thoughts that I could do something good and something different and meaningful, I knew that I needed to be clear on what the purpose of the group was going to be, and also what my individual purpose would be within the group. I knew that I needed to be mindful about how I was going to show up, and it had to be just as Mike, not Mike the mental health nurse or Mike the autism trainer. And after discussing this with my wife, who I have to say, she's the sensible one, she's my absolute rock when it comes to support, and she's someone who is super good at organizing, we agreed that the group should be labeled as a social group, not a support group. We considered the meanings of support versus social and the level of responsibility that comes with those. And we found them to be different. So quickly, it was clear this was a social group. Social was the way to go. But the support would come informally from the people that were part of the group. Setting it up like this, I felt would allow me to be just Mike. Then came the thoughts about, how do I get this off the ground? How do I make it a reality? Well, my previously mentioned friend that I brain dumped on a email to, he met up with me and we spoke techie stuff that I still don't really understand, I'm not very good with. Um, and he told me that it'd be a really good idea to get a domain name. So wearenads.co.uk was bought. And he helped me to set up a Facebook page. And following that, I posted my idea on a local Facebook group, Newbury Notice Board, sharing the idea and just gauging what the response was going to be. It was amazing. I got over 100 likes and lots of supportive comments. Here's a few of those comments that came through. Okay, hopefully you've had time to read those. Right. So the comments were good. I got the confirmation that was needed, and NaDDs became official. But I knew that there was probably still going to be some challenges ahead. Most of those comments, actually not the ones that I put up there, but most of the comments that came through were coming not from the men, but from wives, from partners, from mothers. So I knew that this didn't necessarily mean that men would join. I can imagine that there's probably lots of wives and mums that mention the group to their loved ones. But let's face it, it's probably quite a strong chance that it went in one ear and out of the other for a lot of men. And even those men that did listen to what was being said, how many of them do you think were going to just go join this random guy and called Mike, talk about personal stuff, maybe quite heavy stuff, stuff about what happens in their lives? So I was questioning what's going to happen here, but slowly and surely they've come. Those that have joined, they've seen that we're just ordinary blokes who benefit from being with other blokes that understand some of the challenges that life throws our way. We considered the where and when question, and we figured that out quite well. I was mindful of the fact that this group needed to be aware of some of the difficulties, mindful of the difficulties that some neurodivergent folk can face in social settings. So a choice was offered. This was put out on the Facebook page. I wanted to send the message out very early that the group was going to be developed by a community and not just as me. So the choice of online and in-person meetings was put up, and we discussed it and we decided on both. We decided on a meeting time. 7:30 on a Thursday was quite easily set. It seemed like a good time that we did a poll for, and it was clearly the way forward, and that we would meet every 2 weeks. Online, we know is accessible. It allows people to join from the safety of their own home, a nice, safe, predictable space. And it was felt that actually this choice could potentially be a gateway to some meaningful contact for some people. So online was sorted, but then there was a question of where do we meet when we're in person? Well, there's one obvious idea that came to mind without too much stress. I just asked myself the question and put it out there to the others. Well, where do we like to go when we meet our friends? and we want to catch up. We want to put the world to rights. So yeah, that's right. The pub, of course. The group decided on which particular pub to give a go. We were all mindful of the fact that we wanted somewhere that was not too small, not too loud, and if possible, somewhere that had a space that we could be comfortable in. The Goldilocks Arms doesn't exist, sadly, so we settled for the Dolphin in Newbury, because it ticks a lot of boxes for us, and it seems to work really well. There's spaces that we can use in there that give us a little bit of privacy. They're a little bit quieter. We've tried other venues, and they haven't worked so well. And I'm really pleased to say that um, it was brought up that they didn't work so well. We've created this this openness that we can share that, and that is so important. So we've gone back to the Dolphin. We want to be in a space that, as far as we can, will be inclusive for as many people as possible. Since the start of the group, as I've already mentioned, I wanted to make it clear that although this was my brain baby, I gave birth to it, I don't own the group. The group is open to anyone identifying as male who has a diagnosis or is self-diagnosed as neurodivergent, or is the parent or guardian of a neurodivergent child. Um, and I've actively encouraged everyone to share ideas about how we can shape it and develop it and grow the community. We've got some group rules, and they're the group rules that we've set up, that were set up on Facebook. And yeah, we are kind and courteous towards each other. There isn't any hate speech or bullying or discrimination in the group. We wouldn't allow it, and we are respectful of each other's privacy. I really wanted to make sure that it was going to be a group that wouldn't attract people just to promote business or for people to spam adverts on the Facebook page. Um, I didn't want it to be an area where people can come to self-promote a service that they offer. Sure, if someone's had received a service or some support, then they will talk about it in the group, but it's not a space for advertising. Originally, when I set the group up as well, I was quite strict. I don't know why. Perhaps I thought that I was going to be flooded with people wanted to join and overwhelmed by it. I was I, the original thought was to keep it just to Newbury, but that has changed. I soon realised that the floodgates weren't opening and there wasn't going to be a mad rush of people wanting to join. Um, and people reached out to me from further afield saying that they wanted to travel to be part of the group. So the doors are open to Newbury, surrounding areas, or further afield if people want to join. Here's a bit of feedback about why people have joined. Again, I'm just going to allow you to read this yourselves. Just a couple more bits there. So how have we developed? How have we grown? But as it stands, we've got over 40 members. Not all 40 of those have I met, but And over the year, the engagement and attendance of the group has fluctuated a little bit, but now, as it stands, I can confidently say that we've got a core group of men that come to most of the meetings. The biggest change to the structure of the group that's come over this year is that we've suspended the online meetings, and that was a group decision. It came as a result of people just wanting more chance to meet up in person. We were considering that if someone was unable to make an in-person meeting, we didn't want them to have to wait a whole month to have that social contact again. And the fact that the group have made this decision, I think it shows just how much value is felt from that social contact, and from the trust and the safety that we've developed, which is something that the guys want to be around. From a personal point, I'll share that, over this year, in the early days when the group started, I struggled a bit with my role as the founder of the group, although I was sure that it was a social group, not a support group, and I wanted to turn up just as Mike. It took me a little while to get the balance right. There were times in meetings right at the start when I needed to stop myself from slipping into that role of Mike, the mental health nurse, or Mike, the trainer. But this is becoming easier now that we know each other better, and I'm turning up as my authentic self, and I respect my friends as their authentic selves too. I have become more relaxed, and I've noticed that I've not wanted to jump in with terminology that I perhaps would have done in a training environment. And I view that as personal growth. There's been times when I've doubted how the group is going. I guess that again is partly down to the good old rejection sensitivity kicking in. In the early days, I had no idea where the group was going to go, how it was going to grow. I certainly didn't expect to be stood here delivering a talk like this about the group. There have definitely been weeks where I've had doubts about should I go or not. That probably was down to having a bad day at work, or just another dose of self-doubt. But as my wife will testify, every time I meet with this group of friends, I return with a smile on my face. And this is because in the group, we've got that level of connection. It's special, it's genuine, and it's compassionate, and I love it. In the group, we connect in so many ways. We talk about our families, we talk about our interests, about the things that we like, food, music, travel, our love of pets. The last time we met last week, for the first hour of the meeting, I think we were talking about tattoos. It turns out we've got a whole lot of ink between us, some more than others. And I am really looking forward to seeing out who's going to be the first one in the group to get that tattoo done of a flaming fridge. Yep, flaming fridge. You've heard it right. That's how bizarre our conversations got. But we're safe to talk about these things. There's not really a formal structure to the group. It's been offered. I've offered that maybe do we think about an agenda of things that we want to talk about? But I think that just brings too much formality. I did try a new idea at the last meeting, and that was to chuck this book on the slide on the table. And I've put an invite inside, inviting anyone to use it for any reason that they want to. And yet there's been a few comedy sketches added to it already. Thank you, guys. But more seriously, it's been used to communicate as well. It's been used to communicate that sometimes when someone's had a bad day, speaking doesn't come easy. And it's also been used to communicate that although speaking doesn't come easy, Being able to be part of this safe group and just listen is really valuable. I'm really looking forward to seeing how this book gets filled up over time. We do have more sensible conversations, and often they're about diagnosis, about getting an assessment, how to access an assessment, about medication and the benefits of that, the pros and cons. Some people want it, some people don't. And we respect that. Um, it's clear that over time, we've been able to share life experiences, talk about the things that benefit us. Um, we've seen how knowledge has improved. We've seen how sharing our thoughts and our ideas around neurodivergence has really helped some of the older guys in the group. And in return, those older guys come with their life experience, and that's helped some of the youngers. This next slide, I'm going to read. This is a message that was sent to me directly. Just wanted to say thank you for the group. I'm genuinely so much more settled, getting to talk openly and honestly. I wasn't in a good place before the meetings and nearly didn't come because I didn't want to bring people down or wear a diagnosis I didn't have. I feel actually happy and not just not sad. That message is powerful and it means a lot to me. And I think it speaks clearly of how beneficial this group is. When I reflect on those meetings that we've had over the last year, there's been countless times where we've been sharing stories. Um, and I would look around, I observe what's happening in the group. And often I notice these nods of recognition, maybe from one person, maybe from two, maybe the whole room's nodding. And these nods of recognition, they're powerful. They're really powerful because they tell us we're not alone. A personal example of when I have truly felt connected to the group was when I shared a story of an interaction that I had with a colleague at work. This interaction included me sharing that I had been diagnosed with ADHD last year. And the colleague's response to that was, well, you've done all right, haven't you? You've had a successful career. Without saying much more than this, the group's reaction gave me everything that I needed. Everyone in that room validated the pain and the shame that comes with hearing comments like that. They know of the struggles that we've kept hidden. And I truly believe that it's only in groups like NADDs that this kind of connection comes more easily. My friends in NADDs truly get it. They understand how difficult life can be for us and our children, and they understand that to get to where we've got to has often been really hard work. They understand that we and our children go through life often feeling like the imposter. And they understand that through much of our life, we've had to present ourselves in a way that society deems to be acceptable. Some more quotes from these come directly from the guys that are part of this group. I asked them to help me prepare for this talk because I felt it was important. I asked them to share some thoughts about the group, and here's some examples of what they've said. I'll just let you read them. Just a couple more for you to read. Feeling like you have a home when speaking to people that understand the challenges. Again, just a really powerful quote. So, what's next for the group? Well, the first big thing to note is we've got admin support, which is fantastic. I put an offer out to the group for people to help with this role to keep Facebook up to date and stuff. There was some slight interest, but no real uptakers. So I checked out with the group if they would mind if my wife helped out with this. She's good with organizing, and she's better on social media than I am. Obviously, I wanted to check it out with them because we're an all-male group. Didn't want to assume that they were going to be okay with it. You probably won't be too surprised that there was a unanimous response of something like, mate, if it helps you, then go for it. So I am very, very happy that the group has agreed for my rock, the great organizer that is my wife, to help out. Having someone to take on some of the admin and keep the social media up to date is a great weight lifted off my shoulders. There's already posts ready to go up at later dates, and we've been talking about how we might introduce an adult meeting to the group as well, something that could take place outside of the normal meetings. Um, some initial ideas are to maybe go for a dog walk in a local country park, or maybe to meet at the local snooker hall, go and play pool or darts. But these are just ideas, my ideas. And as always, I will be asking the group to think about what they might like to do as well, for them to share where they might like to go. Um, just to emphasize that the direction of this group is always going to be steered by all of the people that are part of it. This month, a post went on the notice board, Facebook notice board that I originally floated my idea on, and it's resulted in new members coming already. They've joined the group, and we really look forward to meeting them. I recognise that there wasn't enough promotion of the group in the first year, but now we've got someone to do that. It will happen. One idea that came up a little while ago that I definitely want to follow up is to get some merch for the group, some t-shirts, maybe like this one on the slide. It's not going to be about making money, because that's not what we're about. It's just, I think it would be really cool for us to be sat as a group wearing t-shirts like this. Um, maybe it'll result in people coming up to us and asking some questions about the group. Hopefully, it'll encourage other men to come and join us and start feeling actually happy and not just not sad. Most importantly, though, we carry on. We're not going anywhere. We've got something truly special now. And I think we're setting a good example of what can be achieved when a group of strangers come together. I strongly believe that we are sending out positive ripples. We're being positive male role models to our families, to our sons, nephews, friends, and to their children. And I know that this is happening because I've been told. I've spoken to my friends in NaDDs who have shared that they have had conversations outside of the group that have had a really positive impact. These conversations really help to develop acceptance, belonging, and connection. And these are the things that matter. These are the things that make life better. So this talk was, so why do we need a space for NaDDs? So hopefully that's a little bit clearer now. But in addition to this, I think we need to acknowledge that we are seeing more talk about neurodiversity or neurodivergence in society. It's all on social media. There's many more celebrities talking about their experiences, and this is great. It's resulting in more people starting to look through a different lens, starting to relate to what they can see. Social groups for neurodivergent people can make a huge difference. They can help with self-discovery, and they can help reduce social isolation. But from what I can see, there's very little out there just specifically for men, for dads of neurodivergent children, and they are needed. I'm without doubt that groups like NaDDs can help to improve the mental health of the people that join. And with thoughtful planning and ongoing support, these spaces and the people in them can thrive. This is my last slide, and this is us in the pub having a few drinks together. I want you to take away this message, and that's that you don't need to be a celebrity to make a difference. Yeah, it's great that celebrities are coming forward, they're shining a light on and talking about neurodivergence. But you don't need to be a celebrity to stand up, to set up a group, and to reach out and create a community that helps others. I can do it, and I have done it, just as Mike. So you can do it too. Thank you, everyone, for listening.
Thank you very much, Mike. That was really inspiring, listening to what you achieved in the year. I think the thing I was keep coming back to, it's such a simple idea, just go for a pint every couple of weeks. And that's a nice thing to do, but look at the ripples and how much that's spread into individuals' lives, their families, into wider society. That's the fascinating bit to me, is how much that, it's spread just from a relatively simple activity has made a huge difference, hasn't it? Can I invite people to comment or ask questions? Use the Q&A if you would like to ask Mike a question or post a comment about what he's been talking about. And while people are doing that, I'm going to cheekily jump in and ask a question.
Okay.
I think I'm really often over a long time thought about how we involve men in research, in clinical activity, in support, the whole range of activities. I know as a researcher, I might ask for parents of autistic children to take part in research. In generally, we only get the mums, or a colleague of mine, PhD student, ran some workshops for parents looking at children's sensory needs. And again, it was only mums who came, which is fine. How do we encourage men to take part in things like your support groups or your activities or research? Or
good question. I mean, if there were more groups like NaDDs out there, then just look for them and speak to them. Yeah, I would be more than happy for anyone to approach me through the Facebook page or through the web page. How do we do it? I think it's going to come, and I think the celebrities coming forward. That lots of male celebrities are coming
Yeah.
forward and sharing their diagnosis or self-diagnosis. Um, I think we're right at the start of a wave of change. I do truly believe that. If the, I would love to give you a simple just do this, Fiona, and you're
Yeah.
going to pull a group of men in, but
Yeah.
it's not that easy, is it? Um,
No.
um, and it is often yeah, the mums, the wives that
Yeah.
come forward to the support groups,
Yeah.
which yeah, it's just again confirmation that we need more groups like this
Mm.
for researchers to go, okay,
Mm.
you've got a group going, you're
Mm.
clearly seeing the benefit from this. Can you help us out with the research? Because
Mm.
your voice is needed.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Clinically, I'm a clinical psychologist as well as an academic, and I tend to find the same.
Yeah, yeah.
It's often the mums who come along
Mm.
to things. So it's a kind of big shift I think we need to try and do. And I think the way to start is those kind of conversations in the pub, isn't it?
It is.
Just
Yeah,
normalizing
absolutely.
things and making it feel safe, like you've been talking about. So
Yeah.
yeah. So somebody's posted a question, kind of related. First of all, saying thanks for describing the validation and understanding and acceptance within the group, and hoping that could spill over into society. And then the question is, what do you think could be done to help this wider understanding in society as it's so desperately needed?
What do I think that can be done? I mean, one of my biggest bugbears is the education in schools,
Mm.
and I think we need to see a shift there.
Mm.
Um, I was having a conversation earlier actually with someone, and we were talking about actually I think in schools and with younger generations there is more acceptance of divergence, whether that's in sexuality, gender, uh, and and it's coming for neurodivergence as well. Um, I think that's where we're going to see the biggest change. But we need education
Mm.
to get on board with this,
Mm.
and I would love to see more pastoral care in schools, mental health support in schools to start bringing those conversations in.
Mm.
Because again, you then create a ripple effect, don't you? And children will come out of school and speak to their parents about what's been said. What else can be done? I mean, as a mental health nurse, I've always said as well, you know, we have all these big events on TV. Let's have a big event that is specifically for neurodivergence, or big event, a charity event for mental health. That I think would make an incredible difference. But it and maybe it's going to come. We're getting more podcasts
Mm.
with people talking openly
Mm.
about their diagnosis. Um, maybe it's going to come. Maybe it's not too
Mm.
far off. Yeah,
And there's certainly been some really interesting programs of people like Chris Packham, haven't there? Like talking to autistic people and people with
yeah,
ADHD
yeah.
on mainstream TV, which I think actually really helps. Yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah. One of
yeah,
my favorite discoveries was a clip of Tom Hardy disclosing to a group at a
mm,
Comic Con event or
mm.
something, I think that he's autistic. So
All right.
we're getting big names
Yeah,
stepping forward
yeah,
now. That is undoubtedly going to help.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Somebody else has posted not a question, as she said, but as a mum to a son with autism and a partner who's diagnosed in later life, this is such an amazing idea. Well done on the success. It's a pity we aren't closer, as my partner would really benefit from this. So I'm cheekily going to say, sounds like you need to set up a pub group in wherever you are.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I mean, anyone can do this. You don't have to be a celebrity. You just float an idea on social media, and people will come.
Yeah, yeah. Somebody else has posted, I'm thrilled to hear how the group has grown since we first talked about it, Mike. It's been incredible to hear this tonight when we signpost families to you from the Emotional Health Academy. People are so pleased to hear there's a group like this. Its value can't be underestimated, and that's clear from the feedback you've presented here. Amazing, well done.
Thank you. Thank you. If anyone thinks of questions after this talk and you want to contact me, then you can do that. My email address is simply mike@wearenads.co.uk. So I'd be more than happy to pick up any emails.
I put that in the chat. Mike at, what did you say? We are
NaDDs.
at .co.uk.
Yeah.
Hope that works. Lovely. Somebody has asked, what podcasts would you recommend that talk about these topics? As a psychology postgrad student, I'd love to listen to more discussion related to this.
So the podcasts that I listen to, I mean, in the early days, I was listening a lot to an ADHD podcast because I could relate to it, the ADHD Adults podcast, and I got a lot from that, and actually one of the hosts on there right in the early days, because when I go into podcasts I have to listen from episode 1 and work my way through all of them. In the early days there, one of the hosts, James, said, if this podcast can make a difference to at least one person, then it's worth it. And I think about that when I think about NaDDs. So for ADHD, I would recommend that. I've started listening to the Hidden 20% as well. They've been going for a couple of years now, and they've had some really interesting guest speakers come onto there. So that's another one. I think it's personal preference. Those two that I definitely listen to. Listen to Alex Partridge on the ADHD chatter a bit as well. In fact, I just listened to an interview that he did with a psychiatrist, Dr. Karasinski, who's written a book about ADHD. That was a fantastic listen. The way Dr. Sadiq talks about ADHD is really good. It's really clear, and there was a lot that I could relate to on that as well.
That's useful. What we can try and do is curate some of those resources that you've mentioned, and when we send people out the link, we can post some comments next to our YouTube channel that will have those resources on it. That'd be helpful. Somebody commented, this is inspiring. It would be great for similar groups across the country. A question, not a criticism, but can men only meet in the pub? And then said it's nice to hear you're thinking of other types of meetups like walks and pool, etc.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that was something
absolutely.
you thought about quite carefully when you started in the pub, actually.
It is, yeah. And again, a conversation that I've had today with some good friends is, we wanted to meet up in an evening. Where do you meet up in an evening? We have very limited spaces to go to. You kind of it's not like Europe where there's more cafes open of an evening, because absolutely that would have been a possibility. Maybe it's a possibility that's going to come in the future, but absolutely not. It can be anywhere, and I'm quite looking forward to maybe going and having a few games of pool and stuff like that. I'm going for a dog walk. one of my inspirations from a while ago was another very simple setup. There's a guy, I believe he's Bristol way, and he set up a mental health charity for other guys that were specifically kind of more so with low mood depression, and he's called Dudes and Dogs. So he literally will just meet with other guys and take the dog for a walk, because we know that walking side by side with someone in an open or green space is good for your mental health anyway. But walking side by side takes off a bit of pressure to opening up conversation, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does. So I can now see that Jo has joined us from Greece, and she's posted a question. I know she wasn't here at the beginning of your talk, so I'm going to out Jo and say hi. Nice to hear from you. Jo's asked, how do you think your experience as a mental health nurse feeds into your role? Now, she said as a facilitator, but you were very clear at the beginning, you're not facilitating your mic.
Yeah.
And what do you think someone needs to be a good facilitator, or I guess whatever skill, if you're thinking of setting up a group like this? I'd be interested similarly to know if your experience as a mental health nurse has helped or hindered.
It's definitely helped. As I said, it's undeniably like part of why I've done this, because as a mental health nurse, I absolutely see the need for it in my job. There's undeniably more risk of experiencing mental illness as a neurodivergent person. So that has been a big driver for me to get this set up. So yeah, as you said, I was very keen not to be the mental health nurse in the group though, because I felt it would be more powerful for the whole group to offer support to each other. Yeah. So it's been a big factor. It has been helpful. But I avoid being like the mental health nurse in that setting. What does someone need to facilitate or bring a group like this together? It's just kindness, being a good person. I've learned from the National Autism Trainer Program that actually being a good person is really important, and it is enough. So if you are a good person and you're caring, you're compassionate, you have empathy for others, then go and set it up. Just please, just go do it, because you can.
You talked about creating safe spaces, and I think that's really important. I wondered if you could say any more about how you set this up as a safe space, given that you're just punters in a pub. If you haven't booked a room, or it's not a separate room, just
no.
Wondered how you do that.
I think the safety comes from just knowing that you're going to be with other neurodivergent guys that get it. I think that in itself makes it safe. And I would like to think that the fact that I've constantly pushed the message out there that it's not my group, let's develop it together. Let's talk about where we want to go with it. I think I hope that brings safety. And when we meet in the pub that we do, there is a room that is kind of slightly offset from the main bar. We could shut the door on it if we wanted to. We can't always guarantee that we're going to get it, but that brings a bit of safety as well, and just brings the kind of the noise level down, because being mindful of the fact that the sensory input from being in a pub can just be too much. And that's what happened in the other place that we tried. It was just too loud, too busy. And yeah, one of the guys shared that actually, although it was lovely to meet everyone, the fallout from that when they got home was just too much. It was just exhausting. So yeah, that brings safety, knowing that this doesn't work for me. Can we talk about this? Yeah.
And I suppose I was thinking advantages of being in a public place as opposed to, I don't know, hiring a church hall for an hour or two, is you can actually just wander off to the bar, have a moment to yourself, and then go back in, and nobody would pay, in the room, nobody would notice.
Yeah.
People were just wandering about, so that you can be quite hidden in some ways, can't you?
Yeah. And when we put out the posts, because not everyone that's joined the group has come to the face-to-face meetings, and that's to be expected, I think, from any group like this. But when the posts go out saying, right, okay, this is when we're going to meet up and where, I've often put on the post, if you've not come before, come and have a look from afar if you like. And if you want to join us, you can. If you want to join us for 5 minutes, that's absolutely fine. Do what you need to do. And if if there is something that we put into place, then let us know.
That's a very powerful message, isn't it, from the outset, actually, about safety.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Are there more questions or comments that people would like to make? I've got one more, if you don't mind me having yet another question. Okay. You talked at the beginning about imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
And I wonder if your experience of being Mike in the group, not calling you a facilitator, has helped you challenge your imposter syndrome, and if so, how?
I don't feel like an imposter in that group,
no,
for sure.
Yeah.
Do I feel it in other settings still? Yes. But, and this again, recently having a conversation about this, imposter syndrome and RSD, and what's the difference between the two. And also kind of being aware of them now through my discovery, my diagnosis. Now I'm aware of these things to a greater degree. That in itself has made it a little bit easier, because it's allowed me to stop, think about the thoughts that are going on in my head, and tell myself, this is what it is. You do belong here, because you are a professional. If you were a rubbish nurse, failing your patients, you would no longer be a nurse. And when the RSD kicks in, if I'm out, or if someone's not replied to a message, an email or a text, and I'm like, well, they hate me clearly because I haven't replied. Now I've got that knowledge to just stop and go, hang on, do they really? Or is this RSD? And often I can go, okay, it is that. It's still painful, but now I know what it is.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that probably everyone in the group can relate to.
Yeah. Lots of steps in a journey, isn't it? That's, I guess, what I'm hearing.
Absolutely.
Many
Absolutely.
steps. Yeah. So just see, are there any more questions or comments? So I think I said to you earlier, Mike, that we always end our webinars by asking our presenter to tell us the one thing that they would like people to take away from from this evening. And you did say a little bit about that at the end of your talk, but I wonder if you'd like to say again.
I think it is, just to kind of re-deliver that message that if you've got an idea that you want to help others, if you have empathy and compassion for other people, then you can do that. You can do this. Don't be afraid. Give it a go, because I don't want other people to not follow it through, and years down the line think, oh well, I listened to that guy talk about a group that he set up and I thought maybe I could, but I didn't. What if I did? Don't let yourself have a what if, especially around something like this.
Yeah, that's really helpful. Just go for it. It's too important not to, isn't it? Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah,
and too important and too fun, too much fun, too good an opportunity to miss. I kind of think of the right word, but it does sound fun.
It's fun. It's simple, and it makes a big difference. Yeah,
absolutely. Great. Thank you very much, Mike. I think we will close there unless anyone's got last posts that they want to make. But otherwise, I'll say thank you very much again. It's really, really inspiring to hear what you've been able to do in this last year. And I hope that we will see some of you at our next webinar. I'm just checking the date. It's the 12th of February, as I said. John Adams is our next speaker on the 12th of February, so hope to see some of you then. But finally, thanks again, Mike. It's been really, really appreciated your time and your joining us here today.
No problem. Thanks everyone.
Good night all.